and welcome to my end of the year 2019 book stats of the year. How many times have I said year? Okay. So I got the idea from Read with Cindy to do an Excel spreadsheet with all of the info from all the books that I've read this year. And it's now the end of the year. I was trying to finish 2 books before the end of the year, but it is 5 p.m. on the 31st. It ain't gonna happen, y'all. I'm about to get home, get so high, and watch The Mummy, and have a good time, okay? So I almost made it to finish those 2, but I didn't do it. I'm sorry. So, I have the stats. I have them. They're here. Let's get on with it. Okay. I read 64 books this year. However, some of them are individual comics. And I think that next year I want to try to find a way to only mark volumes as part of the challenge and not individual issues. I'm not really sure how to do that, if Goodreads even can function that way. But in this iteration, I have counted individual comics as a book, but next year I don't want to. My goal for this year was to read 42 books. Last year I read 40. I figured I would do 42 since it's the answer to the greatest question in the universe, and I read 64. Holy crap! I've had a lot of downtime this year. Apparently becoming a manager frees up your time. Who would have thought? Okay. Goodreads has told me that across the 64 books, I read 16,442 pages. It's hard for me to calculate the amount of pages that I read because I read a lot on my book. I read a lot on my book. Okay, yeah, nailed it. I read a lot on my phone, and the apps don't translate page numbers accurately from the printed books. So it's too complicated to remember all of that. So, out of 64 books, I read 24 YA books. I thought I was going low with the YA this year, and yet here we are with 24 YA books, but that's okay. I read 11 poetry books, which is about how much I want to read in a year, you know? Yeah, I'm really picky with my poetry, so I can only read so much. 20 nonfiction, which once again is about on par with how much I want to be reading a year. I read 38 books written by female authors. I only read 3 books written by trans or non-binary authors. This is just the information that I have confirmed. There are some people that I couldn't find enough information on, and that those are not counted. So, this is just the facts that I was able to gain. So yeah, 3 trans non-binary authors. I read books by 14 people of color or minority authors. And I read books by 18 queer authors, which is pretty dope. Everyone should up that a little bit. A lot of the poetry and the art books I read are by queer people, so that's where that all comes from. God, I gotta breathe. The number of 1 to 2 star ratings that I gave. I don't give 1 to 2 stars often, so I decided to lump them together, and it was only 5. 5 books were rated 1 to 2 stars. I'm not a picky reader for the most part. The number of 5 stars that I gave this year is 12. 12 glorious books, and that's not even counting the number of 4.5 stars that I gave, which were books that were just on the crux. I'm just going to count them real fast. 3 books were right on the cusp, being 4.5, not quite pushing it to the limit of 5 stars. The number of books I bought this year. Are you ready for this? You ready? 1. I bought 1 book this year. Only reason that I bought this book was because I was buying a copy of it for my friend's birthday, and it looked so interesting that I bought the 2 copies that the bookstore had, and that was Queering the Tarot. Who is that by? Cassandra Snow. That was one of the queer authors that I read, and it was really interesting. Highly recommend it if you're into tarot and if you're into being queer. That's the amount of books I bought. Every other book was either gifted to me, or I read via the 2 apps that I have on my phone connected to my library, or from the library itself. So, I did kind of what Cindy did, which is I calculated how much all of the books that I didn't buy, how much they would have cost used on Amazon. And just to preface this, I would not buy a book on Amazon. I don't really support Amazon, and I would highly recommend that people try to seek out individual bookstores, independent bookstores, local bookstores, and not Amazon, because Amazon is trash. I know we love it. I know the convenience is so good, believe me. But if you are able to shop ethically, try to, please. It's just a nice thing to do. So, but in my searching, used books collectively of 2019, if I had bought them instead of read them on my phone, I would have spent $422. $422 in the bank, y'all. Okay? That's the stats. 2019's over. Get over it. It's a new decade. It's a new decade to read all the fucking books. Okay? Or as many as you want. As many as you're able to, and don't stress yourself about it. Okay? That's what I want for everyone. In 2020, don't keep reading books that you're not enjoying. Read books that you enjoy. Have fun. Be nerdy. Love what you love. And don't be ashamed of it. Okay? Can we all agree on that? Okay. Alright, I'm going to go now. And that was my 2019 reading year. I don't have a set goal for 2020 yet as far as numbers, or I know I want to read more sci-fi, and I want to read more books about natural history museums, just because that's something that really interests me, specifically like specimen preservation, taxidermy, and just the behind the scenes type of work that goes into it, because that's my dream job. And more art books and more poetry. I'm sorry, it's just not the thing. Okay, everyone, read stuff. It doesn't have to be new YA. It doesn't have to be the most topical thing that's being talked about on BookTube right now. Read old books. It doesn't even have to be classics. Read shit you found in the gutter. Okay? Just read. And encourage your friends to read. Give books as gifts. Just force those books onto people until they drown under the weight of the unread pages. Oh, that's too much. That's too much. That's too much. And it's too much. Okay. We're going now. This video is somehow only 11 minutes long. God bless editing me. You're going to have such an easy time with this. Okay. I'll see you next year. No, it's so bad. Okay, bye.